Hi, everyone. This is James from Prague. How are you? Happy day. Happy Wednesday today. And I think it's June 3rd, is it? And interesting times we're living in. And yesterday we were going to have a special guest, Kelly White, good friend of mine who is an incredible medium and also a psychotherapist and an incredible, I think, astrologer and all things wise. And she was going to share with us what's going on right now on the planet from an astrological point of view and also a therapeutic point of view as well and a spiritual point of view. And I mean, we sit and talk all the time. It's like, Kelly, you got to share this with everybody. They got to hear this stuff. So grab a pen and paper. Please grab a pen and paper because you'll need it. Trust me, you will need it. And I'm John Williams is here, and he's putting us in a special kind of studio thing here, so we can have a split screen. So you'll definitely need to get a pen. I'm taking notes also because I'll maybe miss something, so I'm taking everything down. And Kelly's predictions or what she sees, it always is the way it is. It comes true. It's all there. So grab a pen and paper. We're going to bring Kelly on in just a second. Oh, there she is. Hi,
Hi.
Kelly.
Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Hi,
Hi.
James. Hi,
Hi,
John.
Kelly. I don't think we can hear John, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, so and it's a new way of doing it for me. Oh, look, we have this astrology back there.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
You've been on this once before, right? SoulCARE.
I've never been on your Soul Care. You and I did a podcast.
We did
I
a
was on your
podcast.
podcast last July
Oh
of
my. Well, we gotta
2019.
work more often, Kelly. Hello.
Well, we
So
talk every day.
yeah, you would talk every day. But SoulCARE was your idea, really. You said you got to give it to the people; they need help. And Kelly was the one who told me about to do something. She said you should do something, and this is Kelly's brainchild, really. So
Oh,
yes,
thanks.
true. And Kelly and
Well,
I have known each other for how many years
about
now?
20 years.
About 20 years, and we're soulmates. And
Soulmates.
so interesting how very similar things happen to both of us. And a little bit of your background, Kelly, for those that don't know you.
Let's see.
I know, it's a
Quickly,
lot.
I had a traumatic brain injury in the year 2000, and as a result, I became a medium. But then I went back to graduate school and became a psychotherapist. So I am both trained with James through James as a medium, and I give all my credit to so much of my work to James because if it weren't for you when you wrote your book in 1997, Talking to Heaven,
Yeah.
that was it. And when I read that, that was 3 years before I had my awakening. It was
Hmm.
3 years before. And when I read that, I knew every word that was accurate. And I knew that somehow I was going to know you. Somehow
Mm.
I knew everything. And that changed my life.
Meant
That
to
book in
be.
1997. I mean, the work that you've done in this dimension for people, for mediums, but for people, my gosh, James, you've changed the course of the world because you've worked with fear. And I really want to get into some of the things right now because
Okay.
fear is going to be the third thing we're going to
Okay.
start
So
with.
let me. So I'm going to jump in right for your background. So your background, and you were a executive for a refrigerator company, like a very
No, with the
executive
food business, I was a
food business,
big,
and a
yeah,
chef,
I was an
and
executive chef.
very left brain,
Hmm.
Virgo.
Hmm.
But let's make a long story short, the head injury made more right brain part of the lobe was hit and made open up her psychic centers. So when I met your psychotherapy and mediumship, but now you're pretty much doing mostly mediumship,
I
all word
do.
of mouth, and booked up a lot. And you live in Wisconsin.
Well, I'm from Beverly Hills.
Yes.
I lived in Beverly Hills my whole life, raised in Beverly Hills. And last June, God said, "Oh no, 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 no! We have another idea. We're going to move you to a farm in Wisconsin." And I'm like, "What? Where's Wisconsin? What are you talking about? You want me to do what?" And the day this is a true story, I
Very
knew
true.
that we were moving, and James and I was with you. We were in San Diego,
Yep.
and we were driving to Hay House. You were doing a
Yes.
show on Hay
Yes.
House. I think we did that together. I think I
We
was
did it
on the show with
together.
you.
That's right.
And I knew I had to tell James that I was moving. And I had to because I hadn't told anybody. And I thought, I have to tell James. I have to tell him. So after the show, we're driving, you're driving.
I
And
think I
I
almost
said
crashed the
to,
car. Yeah.
you did. And I said, James, I have something to tell you. And you are, I mean, it broke my heart because I didn't want to leave you in that area and I didn't want to leave. But I knew something was happening. And now
Yeah.
we know why because you live in a beautiful
I live in
sequestered
a very
place too. Very
remote
remote.
place, which I would never have picked, but same reason. So,
Same reason. And I
so,
live in
so
a very remote place.
and so Kelly's finishing her first book, and we talk
Mhm.
every night, and she knows a lot about astrology and aspects, and you've been so accurate for the past several years. And I just said, please share it with everybody. So today she's going to talk to you about the virus, about everything. So Kelly, Go right ahead.
Okay. So I want to start with this. I saw this on Facebook. Somebody wrote this and I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. It said the Tiger King was probably going to be the most normal part of 2020.
Oh my God. Oh Lord.
You
And
can
he's
feel
back in
free to use
jail.
it.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
this is
That's
so
sad.
the first part, we're going to go through the retrogrades. And the retrogrades, which I'll start in a minute, that are current right now, that brought on the pandemic. Okay. So the pandemic is about going inside. James, we've all talked about that. Going inside. The pandemic really got us back in touch with nature, who we are. It got us back. So let's talk about these planets that
Now,
are
what is
currently.
retrograde? What does retrograde
Retrograde
mean?
is when a planet doesn't really go backwards. Planets don't go backwards, but they slow
So,
down. And when they slow down, it's for a reason. If you think about it, like when my mom would slow down, then I knew, oh boy, it's that type of energy when a
and
planet slows
energy,
down.
we're influenced because they're mostly made of water. So these big heavenly
Yes.
bodies will have a strong gravitational influence on us.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So the first planet that I'm going to talk about that went retrograde, that is retrograde continuously now, is Pluto. So Pluto went retrograde April 25th, and it goes direct on October 5th, and
Oh.
it's in Capricorn. So let me
Ooh.
just tell you a little bit. Pluto
Ooh.
takes 248 years to orbit. So the last time it was retrograde in Capricorn was, wait for it, the Civil War, I'm sorry,
Oh,
the American Revolution and the Declaration of Independence.
really?
So Pluto is the hidden. Pluto is the shadow side. It's the shadow. So Pluto is a very important retrograde when it does go retrograde, and Capricorn is karma, it's work, it's
Past
health.
master. Yeah.
Yes, it's the teacher, it's the male. It's very Pluto is hidden and it packs a massive punch. Massive punch. So currently, and it means a test of faith. So we're all being tested right now on our faith, okay? That's just one of we're going to have 6 this month that are retrograde. But let's go to the next one because this is, Saturn is retrograde. It went retrograde on May 11th and it goes direct on September 29th. And it is in Aquarius and Capricorn,
Oh my gosh.
both. So what does that mean? Well, Aquarius is the new and
Hmm.
Capricorn is the old.
Yes.
So we are reassessing our responsibilities now. So let me tell you how important Saturn is. The last time Saturn was like this was during the Rodney King riots in
Wow.
1992.
Way.
So I know where I was
I know where I
because
was.
I was right there. It was a mile away from the riots when they began. So it
I
really
was two
did.
blocks away.
You're kidding. Oh,
No, the
wow.
Sears building was on fire, and I'd grabbed my wife at the time, and we got in the car and got out of there. People, there were hoodlums. There were people
Yeah.
going through house, apartment to apartment with the masks on. It was just, oh, it was awful.
It was just really, really, really rough. And
Wow.
Saturn is a strict teacher. It means, business. And then we have Venus retrograde. So Venus retrograde it was on, let's see, May 13th
Wow.
until June 25th. It's a 40-day cycle for Venus retrograde. Venus is a very important planet. I want to say that about it. We don't talk about the sun and we talk about the moon, but Venus is very important. Why? Because it's about relationships. What's important about relationships? How about this? Everything. Because we learn from one another and we're soully connected. Our souls are connected to one another. And so Venus in retrograde, this one is in Gemini, and
Oh
Gemini
my.
is duality. And so things are not going to be black and white. What I always ask people to do during a Venus retrograde, especially this one, is nothing, no issue is black and white. It's you've got to use a different lens to view your partner, your friend, whomever. Use a different lens. But how about the lens of this? Compassion. How about the lens of, you know what? I don't think in any way I shape or form that I see this person that I want to stay with this person. Maybe it's not worth it for me. So you're going to see a lot of breakups. You're going to see
Hmm.
a lot of endings. You're going to see a lot of revolution in relationships, people stepping up into their own power. You're going to see a lot of this during this very difficult time. And then we have, because it's not enough, we
That's 4
have,
retrogrades. Let's go to the
no,
5th one.
no, I'm going to the fourth one. That's the
4th
third.
one.
The
Oh my
fourth
God.
one is
Okay.
Jupiter retrograde. So Jupiter went retrograde on May 14th, and it goes direct on September 13th. And it is also, James, in Capricorn.
Wow.
So it me
Learning,
Jupiter
learning, learning.
learning. Jupiter is expansive. So Jupiter gives us lots of opportunities to expand.
It's a luck planet, right? The
Yes,
fortune
it
planet.
is. It's we yes, we I normally you love, Jupiter is I love all the planets. They all bring in what
I
you're
love
supposed to
Jupiter. It's my
learn.
favorite, actually.
Oh, I believe that. It's absolutely because it's benevolent. People love it. And
Rule
it
Sagittarius?
Yes,
Yes?
it does. Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
that's why.
And it that's why and it forces us to review the lessons we did not learn, or it's going to give us opportunities that we did not take advantage of. So this is going to be raise our games to a higher elevation, a higher vibration. Everybody's thoughts out there need to have the idea of what's my vibration on this? How am I feeling about this? And really you have to go in and do your inner work. I mean,
Mm.
this period of time is unbelievable. And there's one other aspect that I'm going to talk about when Neptune goes retrograde, and we'll get there because when Neptune goes retrograde in Pisces, that is when the Roman Empire fell. So we're talking about a lot of change here. And we haven't even gotten to Mercury yet. So I thought now what I would do is go into the eclipses because I think it's
And
very
that's
important.
four retrogrades, yeah?
Currently, there are four.
Currently
There will
four.
be
Okay.
two more that we're going to talk about
Okay.
in
Wow.
a minute, or
Okay.
in a few minutes, because I really want to get into. So the pandemic was brought on with these retrogrades, and with there are five eclipses that I'm looking at. Okay, five, and the reason I wanted to do five is because if we look at the eclipses that I'm going to talk about that we have coming up are on the Cancer Capricorn axis, and Cancer and Capricorn is about integrating emotions with ambition, trust with control, love with power, sensitivity with difficult choices, creative with sensibility, and the mystical and the practical. If you think about it, Cancer and Capricorn.
Yeah.
And so it really means you have to focus your attention on helping and caring for others. Okay. And these are the themes that are going to play out for this global scale that we're headed, that we are on, actually. So and what I want to say this before I even get into these eclipses that I'm about ready to discuss. I looked at the history here of the year 2001, and I was flabbergasted to see that the eclipses of 2001, the first one well, one of the ones that I will get into, the big one on June 21st of 2020, was the exact same eclipse that was in 2001 on June 21st at 0 degrees Cancer, which is exactly what this one is coming up.
That's 9/11, right? That year?
And the second eclipse that we are going to get into is the one coming up on July 5th, 2020. In 2001, it was the same eclipse, July 5th, 2001, at 14 degrees Capricorn. It's the same thing. So this is major lessons to be learned. And when we get there, let me just go back here. So I'm going to start with July 12th, 2018 was the first in a series, they call them, of Cancer Capricorn axis eclipses. So if you look back at where you were approximately mid-July 2018, and you look at the big change that occurred for the last 2 years. So I know where I was. I was at my mother's memorial. James, I know where you were.
Yep.
Your family had come in. But
Yep.
if either of us personally look back at our lives, my goodness, right? How much change has occurred? Dramatic change. Dramatic change. I mean, I moved to a farm in Wisconsin. My whole life has changed. And I know with you, your personal life, things
Oh,
have
yeah.
really changed. Huge
Sure.
change, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I wanted to talk about that because then the one after that on the same axis was on December 26, 2019. That was in Capricorn. One after that was January 10th, 2020 in Cancer. Again, this is a series on the same axis.
Excuse me, Kelly. Are these eclipses you're talking about?
Yes, these are
Okay.
eclipses that I'm
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
And look what happened. We had the pandemic.
Yep.
Okay, we had all these planets lined up in Capricorn at the same time. That was the first of bringing us into a place of not just awareness and consciousness to the planet, but to go inward to do the work that we've had to
Yep.
do. So it took that to do that. So the next eclipse coming up, which is the one that's, right around the corner, frankly, is on, here we go. It is June 5th. It's June
Which
5th.
is when? Friday.
It's Friday. Now, let me tell you about June 5th. From numerology, it is a 33 day because June is the 6th month, it's the 5th day, and I view 2020 as a 22 year. It's much more powerful than a 4 year. This is 22. So when you take a 22 and an 11 and you put it together, that means the teacher and the wisdom and the building and the restructure. And this is the June 5th. On June 5th, it's a full moon lunar eclipse now I am doing Vedic astrology and Western. I can do both because I have a lens that allows me to look at both ways. And I'm going to say that this one is is in
Gemini.
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 And the reason I say that is I can feel the energy of Gemini much
Mm-hmm.
more than the Cancer, because
Mm-hmm.
Gemini is, I just feel it. It just feels that way to me, that this is where truth is going to be revealed. We're talking about Friday here.
I,
And
I'm doing
this
I'm doing readings Friday. I'm doing a whole evening of spirit messages. So I'm going to do a whole, yeah, meditation for this lunar eclipse energy. Yeah.
Get as grounded as you can,
Yeah.
because people are going to go out of their bodies when they get these messages, because it's
Okay.
going to be otherworldly, these messages, because the spirits, the veil is so thin right
Then.
now,
Yep. Yep.
so thin. And in Gemini, it's on the Gemini Sag axis, but in Sagittarius, this brings, I should say, let me backtrack. This one is in Sagittarius, and this one is, it clears the air, and it brings change and deep transformation, like deep transformation.
Excuse me, Kelly. Is it moon in full moon in Sag?
It's in Sag. I'm
It's
sorry,
in
it's in
Sag.
Sag.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a
All right.
mistake on that. It's on
No problem.
Sagittarius.
So change and transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, but it's such a powerful, powerful day that day. My goodness. My goodness. And it's going to be about, claiming your power, letting your inner voice speak, discovering a new path that will be emerging. And it's going to be different from the path that you were on. So I know that people think, well, what am I going to do with my life now that so much change is happening? Well, you'll sit back and you'll be amazed at the decisions that you may make now. You may say, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I had an idea, but I'm going to do this instead. So your soul is going to come out to
Mm.
tell you what to do, as
Hmm.
opposed to your brain saying, no, we're going to do this. Your soul's going to go, no, 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 no. I don't think so. I don't think so. So on June 6th, the day after that,
Yep.
we're going to talk about Mars for a bit. Mars squares the sun. And we haven't even gotten into a Mars retrograde yet. But Mars is the planet of war and action. And this is going on June 6th. We're talking about Saturday, I think.
Yep.
It's going to test the character of everybody, of your enemies, of men. It has a lot to do with ego. So this day, June 6th, could lead to a lot of power, impatience, aggression, destruction, exhaustion. Is a very, very, very burning hot energy. Like, what do we do with this energy? Go out for a great walk. Think positive thoughts. It's going to be it's very intense, very
Mhm.
intense. So then, and then on June 13th, Mars conjuncts means goes right next to, very close to Neptune. So it's going to take some dreams you might have and kind of blow them up. Um,
Wow, really? That's
yeah, that's
interesting.
a really going to be a power. Every day in June is a powerhouse. I mean, people are like, "Do I get a break?" No,
No,
no, you don't get a break. Nobody gets a break. We wanted to be here during this time of great change. We
change.
wanted to be here. The reason we wanted to be here, everybody, is to wake up, wake your consciousness up. This planet has some low vibration energy. Get your energy up. Everybody has to look at their stuff, and
Hmm.
this making their unconscious conscious. So racism plays a big part of that. So you have to look at the family lineage. You have to look at everything. And the opportunities will be there to look at everything this month. So now let's go into, you just can't believe I'm going to say this, but Mercury retrograde. Let's look at
And
Mercury
that's
retrograde.
nothing these days.
That's
Yeah.
you. Normally, I would say, yeah, you're
Right.
right, James. Exactly. But on June 18th, Mercury goes retrograde. Now, it goes in Gemini and it ends in Cancer. Okay, so again,
Wow,
I'm looking
weird.
at both angles here. It starts in Gemini, if I go by Vedic, which I do, and also then ends in Cancer, which is also, with its Western.
When does it go direct?
It goes direct on July 12th.
Okay.
So June 18th to July 12th. Now, let me just tell you this. This is going to it activates Jupiter, and
Mm.
Jupiter, which is, we love Jupiter, but it is expansive. And when this happens, more anger can come out, more warlike tendencies. And Gemini is air, rules the air. So we're talking about hurricanes, we're talking about plane troubles, flying in a plane troubles,
Air.
air, communication, and the big one that I've been talking about is internet trouble.
Oh, you did?
Internet
Yes, you
trouble.
mentioned that. Yes.
And I think that there could be some trouble that comes up during this period of time. And
Kelly, let me interrupt you and ask you, does this mean anything? Trump is a Gemini.
means everything. It means everything.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of hot air, a lot of, change, I would say. A lot of people, rising up. And I
I,
think
I've, I, I've never liked July. I've never got a good feeling about July. Never. So
it's funny you said that. My sister made that comment to me
I
yesterday.
don't know. I don't like it. Something's not
Yeah.
right in July.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, we're gonna wait till you see now. Yeah, this
Okay.
is this is tough.
Next.
Next is the
I
June
should have had a
20.
drink before this call. Yes.
We could do that later.
Yeah.
I've got a full day of clients after this. But the next is June 21st, and this is the most important eclipse of the year. Okay? And again, this is on the Cancer Capricorn axis that the same energy was present in 2001. This is a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer at 0 degrees. Now, what do I mean by that? 0 degrees means it's when it just stops, and it's very intense. The very Cancer at 0 is very powerful,
Hmm.
and it's very potent. It's a very
Hmm.
potent one. Now, if I look at the 2001 eclipse on the same day as June 21st in 2001 at 0 degrees Cancer, that energy was going through to New York. And I think that's what was 9/11 was about. I don't see this one going through the United States, but I do
Although
see
the
it.
United States is a Cancer country.
It is, and it will affect all of us. If it affects one group, it affects all of us. And that's really the sole lesson here, is that we're all connected. So everybody will be affected. And I think that this eclipse brings the third thing that I'm talking about, which is there's the pandemic, then there's make the unconscious conscious, and now I'm looking at fear. And James, you've always taught for 35 years, love or fear.
Right.
And I think that fear will be the next big wave that hits,
Mhm.
because it's what our souls are having to look and realize that really you must choose love, and that fear
The
is an
fear is a lower
illusion. It's
vibration.
a lower vibration,
Of course.
and our souls are going to survive everything. Our souls survive everything, and it's really a deep, deep healings on many levels. There'll be a lot of healings in the next, in the next several months, and into the following years. But this is a very, very, it's going to be, this eclipse is about balancing personal freedom against responsibility.
Wow.
And restrictions are going to be a major theme during this eclipse. Well, we're already feeling the restriction, but I believe this, with privilege comes responsibility.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to take responsibility for themselves. They
100%.
must learn about themselves and get some deep healing for themselves. So that is June 21st.
And that's a third eclipse.
Yes.
Okay.
And then,
I'm so
yeah,
tired.
I
It's like
know,
my
honey.
brain is bleeding.
I'm sorry.
This
That's
is why
maybe
I
why we,
wanted Kelly to be on this because we had to share this with you guys because
yeah,
you have to
it,
hear this.
it's a lot. It's a lot. And then before we get to the final eclipse, and I'll tell you something really
Right.
interesting. These three eclipses, June 5th, I'm sorry. Yeah, June 5th, June 21st, and then the last one on July 5th. The reason those three are important is they all come within a lunar period. It's very rare to have three eclipses during a lunar period. It's very
Mm.
unusual. It only has happened 14 times from the year 2000 to the year 2050. It will have only happened 14 times. So this energy is, it's rare. It's intense by design. So let's go to now June 23rd. Okay, that's when Neptune goes retrograde. Now, Neptune is a whole deal in and of itself,
I
you
think I'm
know.
planting myself in my garden
I
and
think it's a great
I'm gonna
place.
cover myself with dirt. I think that's what's going on.
I think that's a great idea. And
Yeah.
this goes
Mhm.
retrograde until November 28th. So
Oh,
June 23rd to November 28th. So Rome, or I should say, Pisces was in Neptune. No, I'm sorry. Neptune was retrograde in Pisces
it'll be
when,
retrograde in Pisces.
yes, in
Okay.
Pisces when Rome fell. So this is a big deal. So all of this is a big deal. So the further from the truth that you have traveled, or the more extreme your methods of escape have been, the bigger the shock. So what am I really saying? If you've had a porn addiction, if you've had an alcohol addiction, if you've had a gambling addiction, if you've been in a bad relationship, all of this is going to be revealed and you're going to have to make some decisions. Do I stay with this person or do I get help? Or is it me? You have to look at the truth of everything because it's all about this ultimately is getting you to your higher self. And
Mm.
this is the most important. And by the way, Neptune represents the pineal gland. Did you know that?
I've heard that before. So it's a
Interesting, huh?
very, very clairvoyant time.
Very.
Seeing truth.
Seeing the truth. So this is going to be very interesting. Then when we get to June 30th, Jupiter, the planet we love, conjuncts Pluto. Now, this is a major influence because when a planet conjuncts, it goes right next to it,
Next
almost
to
on top of it practically. And Jupiter will expand Pluto. Okay. And this is going to increase the fear of death from COVID. So
excuse me
it's
one
this
second, Callie. What does Pluto represent? Like I know Jupiter's expansion. What is Pluto? The unknown or
underworld,
underworld?
underworld,
Okay.
underworld. It's like it represents your unconscious.
The unconscious.
The
Okay.
unconscious, but it's the underworld. And by the way, everybody has an unconscious of something. Come on, we're having a human experience,
Right.
everybody has something. But this really brings it out. And let me tell you, it's power and energy. And when this happens, it can bring out fanatics. And we're going to see things during this time that you can quote me on this that we never thought were possible in our lifetime.
Well,
We
I could
just,
say that several times this year.
right? I mean, it's unbelievable. But then it's like, oh my God, Kelly. Somebody asked me about July today, and I was like, July?
Let's try to get through June first.
I was laughing about it. Okay, so then I just want to mention this before I get to that eclipse. On June 26th is very important also because Mars leaves Pisces and goes into its own home of Aries. So let me just have a
War,
feeling about that.
war.
when Mars is home is Aries,
Ugh,
and it's the
it's
home
war.
of it's it's a very intense time, and it stays in Aries for a very long time, like until next year, I think, or what am I saying, for a long, long time. And it's longer than that. And when this happens, it goes retrograde, and I don't have the exact date, but it goes retrograde in, I think it's September. It goes retrograde, and when Mars goes retrograde in its own sign, that's going to be rough. It's going to be
Yeah,
rough.
September. September's a
September,
bad time.
yeah, it's this whole period is all
Yeah,
about.
July and September I always thought was bad.
Yep, 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 yep. Well, and then we get to the last eclipse
I'm
of
exhausted.
this.
Okay.
Oh, there's still two more at the end of the year, but we'll talk about that at another time.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, we're just doing this. But on July 5th, it's the last eclipse that on the Cancer Capricorn axis. And what's important about this, it's the last one until the year 2027. So this is a series of eclipses that give you this push pull between your family, between your career, between your what you have always wanted to do for yourself, making change. It's going to shift your priorities, everything, and you're going to look at what's important to your soul, what is important, why did you incarnate.
Mm.
Everybody, yes, is there, Jan says, is there any good news? Yes, there's some good news. And
Is there any good news?
here's the good news. Everybody wants to know the good news. The good news is you'll do a lot of great work on yourself. And that's
Transformation.
really, really transformation. All of this is about transformation. I'm not doom and gloom at all. James isn't doom and gloom. We just know that, it's like giving a roadmap. So I'm just going to say it's
Yeah.
going to be bumpy. Put your seatbelt on. Learn
Yeah.
everything you can about yourself. Go into therapy. Find a therapist. They're all booked right now, but find
Yeah.
one.
And don't become a victim, because now that you have the knowledge and
Right.
awareness of it, you're enlightened.
Yes.
So you don't become a victim. You can be in charge and be in control of your
Yes.
thoughts and what you do during those
Yes.
periods. It's
And
great to know.
in actuality, in the next time we get to next year, we will have all learned and grown. And I know that growth is painful for people. Believe me,
Always
I've
is.
had my own growth. James, you've had your own growth.
Sure.
We didn't just pop in like this. I
Mm-mm.
mean, at all. And it's painful. But
Mm-hmm.
then you get to the other side of it. And of course there's the other side. Self-love is everything. Thanks, Stacy. Self-love is everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of soul care is needed for all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a big heads up.
Ah, thanks, Kelly. My God. Now, how can people reach you? I don't know if they want to speak to you anymore, but Kelly, if they want a consultation with you, and
They can reach me at
right,
kellywhite.com, and then
you have a
we do that show on
yes,
Monday nights.
yes, a great show of both sides, right?
Both
Seeing
Sides Now
both sides now.
TV on Monday nights, and you're going to be on, I think, on June 22nd, which will be
Okay.
fun. And then I do a show Thursday afternoon of spirituality and taking and doing readings. But if you want a private reading, I'm still available to do private readings. I'm kind of booking up, but I'm available.
Did you see that lady that sent an email? I think it was to you or to me. I got it, and it was Kelly White. I don't know if I heard this. She said,
Mm-mm.
"Thank you very much for recommending Kelly White. She's changed my life and my family's life." I think it was
Oh,
after her daughter passed or something. Yeah, I just got it last
oh,
week. So
oh!
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So I'm glad I remembered to tell you that.
Thanks. I
These
appreciate
things
that.
come in and go out so quickly. So
Oh my God.
Kelly,
Thanks,
thank you
James.
very much. My
You're
God, that was
so
incredible.
welcome.
I got to transcribe all this I got to send that to all my friends and email it because yeah, it's
I
great to know
know.
ahead of time. It really is. It
Yeah.
really, really is. So thank you
Yeah.
very, very
You're
much.
very welcome. Thank you for giving me a platform to tell
Oh,
everybody.
anytime, anytime, anytime. So
Okay.
okay, thanks everybody, and I hope that helped you. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And tomorrow we're gonna do a meditation.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do a meditation tomorrow. We need a
You
meditation.
need one.
We'll do a healing meditation tomorrow. We're gonna do a healing meditation tomorrow. So join us tomorrow, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Thank you, John Williams.
My
Okay,
pleasure. Thank you.
okay.
Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.